Chrystia Freeland is back in the news, and I'd like to say it's good news, but it's not good news, at least not for Chrystia Freeland. And some Canadians may be scratching their heads today, trying to wonder what exactly is going on. So the former deputy PM, remember, she was the deputy prime minister, has officially announced that she will, in fact, leave her position, or at least intends to, as an MP, as well as her role as the prime minister's special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine. Because, well, Ukraine is involved in this decision after it was announced by Vladimir Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, that Chrystia Freeland, that same Chrystia Freeland, would be taking on a role as an economic advisor. So to try to understand this story and how we got here, Annie Bergeron-Oliver at CTV News Ottawa is on the line. Annie, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
This is a little, I was going to say it's confusing. I mean, and I know reaction has been pretty sharp with respect to, you can't do both things at once. Now, when someone asked me about this earlier today, I said, well, wait a sec. It's not like she's conspiring with Russia or, a foreign power that has a position against Canada. So why has this become such a big deal?
Well, if you talk to a lot of the Conservative MPs who are being very vocal about this online, they're saying that, she is currently a member of Parliament. She's supposed to be spending time in Ottawa doing debates. She's supposed to be in her riding of University Rosedale, and she's currently being paid by the Canadian taxpayers to be an elected member of Parliament. So a lot of the Conservative members are tweeting and saying, look, she can't currently be a member of Parliament paid for by the taxpayers, supposedly helping Canadian democracy, when at the same time she's advising a foreign government. You're right. It's not, Russia, for example, or China. It is Ukraine, and the Canadian government has staunchly supported Ukraine. They have said, we want Ukraine to be successful. They have helped. They have given a lot of money and assistance to Ukraine over the years, and she has a very similar position right now with the Canadian government, as you pointed out. But, there are conflict of interest rules as well, and so many critics are saying, look, this also breaks the conflict of interest rules. Democracy Watch, for example, is saying that there's a rule in the Conflict of Interest Act, which she is governed by in her role as a parliamentary secretary, that says you can't use your position or you can't help advance a company or any individual while also holding office. And so Democracy Watch has come out and released a statement saying that they don't believe that she should be allowed to hold this position, that it does, in their belief, contravene the Conflict of Interest Act by helping to advance the needs of another foreign country. Even John Davies, who's the interim leader of the NDP, has come out and said one cannot serve Canada and another country at the same time. So I think that's really where the controversy is right now. People questioning, well, why aren't you leaving immediately? Why are you doing this in the coming weeks instead?
So the Prime Minister was asked about this. I'm not sure I understand exactly what this is all about, but I want you to hear the clip. This is Mark Carney with respect to Chrystia Freeland's decision to leave.
There is real momentum. Nothing's assured, but there's real momentum in this peace process. And the security guarantees are incredibly important, but as is the reconstruction and the prosperity plan, and she'll be there to work on that. And look, we'll have a by-election. There'll be a few by-elections coming up, and we'll run great candidates, and the people in those ridings will decide who they want to send to Parliament.
That's about as vague an answer as I guess, you could get. He started off by talking about Canada's role. Now, the announcement, of course, earlier in the day of Canada yet injecting more money to help Ukraine. What did you make of that, Annie?
Yeah, he didn't really have too much to answer in that, talking about the momentum, how she's going to be helping it. But what he also said today was that, her resigning in these two roles as a member of Parliament and the special rapporteur, the special representative for the reconstruction, that this was consistent. He also said that she felt that she could do more good while working simply for Ukraine rather than on the behalf of Canada for Ukraine. Now, he also complimented her, saying that she has a unique ability to be able to do this job. She has spent a lot of time in Ukraine, that, she has done a lot of good work so far in his role that he put her into, and that, she'll continue doing this good work. I think what's also interesting is there was another clip from Carney where he was asked very specifically, did you ask her to stay on as a member of Parliament to help your agenda in Parliament, given it's a minority government? Right. And he said, no, he didn't. That didn't play into this decision.
But, of course, as you're alluding to here, they have a very, very slim majority right now. There will have to be a by-election, maybe more than one. Do they set dates for this, or are they going to try to drag this out as long as they possibly can?
I mean, I think we have to wait and see. Chrystia Freeland has said she's going to announce it in the coming weeks that she's resigning.
Okay.
What does that mean? Is that next week? Is that 6 weeks from now? Is that 8 weeks from now? And once she announces the date of her resignation, then eventually it gets to Elections Canada. From there, the government has 180 days to call the by-election. And then that by-election has an election campaign, which can be as little as 36 days, I think, or the maximum of 72 days. So no matter how you spin this, there's at least several months here where the people in University Rosedale in downtown Toronto will not have a member of parliament, and where the Liberals will now be at 170 seats and a majority is 172. So what this does do is her resignation definitely makes it more complicated for the Liberals. It means that in order to get their legislation passed, like the budget bill, for example, they now need 2 votes instead of 1.
Right.
So they need to do a lot more work with the opposition to try to get MPs on side or to try to convince MPs to abstain so that they have enough votes to get their agenda passed.
Not a dull moment. Let me ask with respect to Venezuela, because that, of course, remains the big story today. I know the Prime Minister was asked about this today. Canada's position on this, clear since the get-go, I guess, right?
Yes. I haven't been covering that at all today. However, Canada has said that they're, not on side with what happened. And I think it's just we're going to have to wait and see kind of a little bit more about how Canada reacts and how strong they are. But they've said, we don't think that this was the right approach.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. I know that's not your story today. With respect to Mark Carney and where he is today, can you fill us in as far as Ukraine is concerned?
Yeah, so I haven't also done too much about that.
Okay.
I've been mostly focused on this, but that's okay. Essentially, he's saying, look, he was there to try to talk to this coalition to try to work on a peace plan moving forward with Ukraine. He says there was really good momentum. He's talking about potentially putting military power behind this. This was the whole part of the peace plan. He was asked this morning whether or not Canada actually has enough because we have recruitment and retention problems in the military, and he says, yes, we do, that if Canada decides to move forward with a military presence, that we do have the ability to do that. And we're also going to be giving some additional money to Ukraine as well.
Okay. I have Anita Anand's statement here, which will help, I think, me fill this in anyway. And I apologize for bringing that up. She wrote, Anita Anand, who's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, since 2019, when Canada closed its embassy in Venezuela, we have refused to recognize any legitimacy of the Maduro regime and opposed its repression of the Venezuelan people, including the persecution of dissenters and particularly political leaders opposed to the regime. In keeping with our long-standing commitment to upholding the rule of law and democracy, Canada calls on all parties to respect international law. We stand by the people of Venezuela and their desire to live in a peaceful and democratic society. Canada is engaging with its international partners and monitoring developments closely. Canada stands ready to assist Canadians in need through our consular officials and embassies in Bogota, Colombia. So that's what we got from Canada today. Annie? Annie, are you still there?
I'm still here.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And I think we're all caught up now. There's just a lot going on today. I will say to your point, by the way, this decision by Chrystia Freeland, she's not quitting today. She's going to let us know when this actually happens, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
she said it's just going to happen sometime in the coming weeks.
Okay. Annie, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Seasoned gamer or just video game curious? This Week in Gaming is the podcast for you. We break down the latest in the world of video games, from basics to beyond. The hottest gaming news, insight, and industry leaders and more weekly. Join me, Naomi Kyle, and stay ahead of the game with all the latest updates, even if you're a total newbie. Stream This Week in Gaming on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.